You may have been using ChatGPT for a while, but things change really quickly and there may be some features that you haven't explored yet. So in this video, I want to share with you 10 ChatGPT tips I wish I'd known sooner. The first one is around security and privacy. Once you're in ChatGPT, click on this button in the top left corner to open the settings and then go to data controls. There is a setting here at the top that says improve the model for everyone. This is actually switched on by default, but you can switch it off so that way your content that you upload into ChatGPT won't be used to train the models. But even with this toggle switched to off, you should still be intentional about what you paste into ChatGPT and assume that any information you upload could be stored. So it's best practice to not upload any sensitive data. So if you're working on something confidential, for example, an internal strategy or a client's data, I would normally anonymize anything that you paste in so you can get a useful response without revealing too much. My second tip is about personalization. So whilst you're in the settings in ChatGPT, just go to personalization on the left, and there's a few different settings you can change here. So the first one is about the base style and tone. This is set to default, but you can change it to professional, friendly, candid, and so on. You can also change how warm you want the responses to be, how enthusiastic, and also how often ChatGPT uses emojis. So this is something useful if you don't normally use emojis, just to reduce the number of them coming up in the responses. And then there's some custom instructions here that you can give it about the behavior that you expect from it. And you can add some information about yourself that will help ChatGPT understand the context in which you're asking the questions a bit better. So in the About You section, the kind of things that you can enter are basically things that will be relevant most of the time and things that won't change very often. So for example, if you're using ChatGPT to learn Spanish and only for that, then you can upload things like your language level, your previous experience, the types of activities that you like, and so on. If you use ChatGPT for more things, then it might be worth creating a custom GPT for that purpose. And I've got a separate video about that, which I've linked in the video description, so make sure you check it out. Tip number 3 is to provide context in your prompts, and especially these core elements. What specifically you're looking for, who is it for, so the audience, what the purpose is of the content, so what are you going to use it for, and maybe also specify what you don't want from ChatGPT. So for example, instead of using a basic prompt like write a LinkedIn post about AI, which is going to generate a very generic result, you can do something like this. Write a LinkedIn post for small business owners. Explain one practical way in which AI can save them time. The purpose of the content is to educate and encourage connections to comment on this post. The tone should be practical, plain English, and informative, and so on. So this is going to generate a much more tailored response. To get started with prompting, you can get your free AI prompt starter pack, which I've linked in the video description. It's got 70 ready-to-use AI prompts that you can use with ChatGPT or any other AI tool. Tip number 4, ask neutral questions. Leading questions lead to biased answers. And ChatGPT can sometimes presume things when your question is a leading question. For example, if you ask it, why is Notion better than Todoist? The presumption is that it is indeed better. So anything that ChatGPT produces in response to this question will be generated based on that presumption. So instead, you can make this question a little bit more neutral, like this. Compare Notion and Todoist. Include strengths, weaknesses, and ideal use cases for each. It's a lot more neutral, so it will produce a more neutral result. Tip number 5, start small and build on it. ChatGPT is great and it can really help you with some really big problems or tasks, but don't ask everything at once. What I mean by that is don't put the whole task in a single prompt. You will get much better results if you start small and then build on it step by step. Here's an example. So your first step can be brainstorming. So the prompt I'm going to use is give me 10 video ideas about productivity for freelancers, and I'm going to wait for it to produce the 10 ideas. I'm going to look through them and pick one that I really like. So I quite like idea number 3. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to take idea number 3 and suggest 3 alternative angles that are less obvious. Okay, so I've got 3 angles, so I'm fleshing out the topic step by step. And the next thing I want to do is to create an outline. So I'm not asking it to draft anything yet. First, I need an outline that I can then iterate on step by step. So my prompt here is create a clear outline for angle number 2, which is my preferred angle. So there we go. That's the outline. And the next step will be to expand this outline. So I'm going to say for section 1, suggest 5 original and less talked about ideas. So I'm expanding this outline step by step until I get the result that I need. And taking small steps like this helps you improve and flesh things out as you go without having to rewrite the whole response that ChatGPT gives you. Tip number 6, give feedback on ChatGPT's responses. So this is basically something you can do to iterate the content that you're given and make it better. For example, you can say something like, this is good, but make it more practical, cut the intro in half, and add 3 concrete examples. You don't need to restate the whole prompt. You just need to react to what ChatGPT has just given you in the same way as if you were giving feedback to an assistant. Tip number 7, projects. The ChatGPT projects functionality is something that helps you keep related chats, files, and context in one place. So to start a new project, just go to the left-hand sidebar and under projects, click new project and then name your project. So I'm going to name it YouTube videos about productivity. And it's creating my project. And essentially, I can upload all the context that will be useful into this project. So things like PDF documents, Word documents, any kind of data. So you can upload spreadsheets, images, statistics, anything that will help ChatGPT understand the context. And then you can start new chats inside this project. So every time you start a new chat, ChatGPT will be able to draw on everything else that's inside that project. So all the files and all the different chats that have been started. And I've got a separate video about using projects step by step, which I've linked in the video description. So make sure you check it out as well. My next tip is related. It's about jumping into old chats and using them again. So there might be some repetitive questions or tasks that you use ChatGPT for. So instead of starting a new chat or a new conversation, you can just go back to that chat that's related to your question and ask the question again. So to give you an example, in my language teaching business, I create a lot of short videos about vocabulary. So I've got a chat set up which is specifically about phrasal verbs, and instead of starting a new conversation and prompting again, I just ask it for more examples of the same thing. So the original prompt is already in the chat, in the history, and ChatGPT can refer to that to produce a result really quickly using new examples. The next one is branches. So I've asked ChatGPT to write me a LinkedIn post about 3 benefits of getting up early. And here's the post. And then when you click on these 3 little dots that says more actions, you can branch in a new chat, which essentially opens a new tab in your browser, and it allows you to explore this topic in 2 different directions. You can actually open multiple branches and explore the topic in multiple different directions. So in the first tab, you could ask it to rewrite it in a very formal style, and in the other branch, so in the other tab, you can ask it to rewrite it for a different audience, for example. So you can experiment with things without messing up the original thread. And I've got a separate video about using branches step by step, which I've linked in the video description, so make sure you check it out. And my final tip is to ask ChatGPT to formulate the prompt for you. For example, you can say, help me write a great prompt to create a landing page for a new online course. Ask me any questions you need first. Once you've got the prompt, you can iterate it, you can improve it to suit your specific needs. If this video helped you, hit the like button, it really helps. And don't forget to download your free AI prompt starter pack, which contains more than 70 ready-to-use AI prompts that work with any AI tool. And subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.